My name's Hallie. I'm one of the trainers here at the Aquarium, and I'm joined by my coworker, Kristen.
Hello, everyone.
So today what we're going to talk about, you guys probably don't recognize where we are because we've never been down here for a Facebook Live, but what you're going to see is some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. So, when people think about what we do as marine mammal trainers, they know we work with our animals. We're working on training them. We also are getting their food ready. We're doing a lot of cleaning. But one other thing that I think a lot of people kind of forget that we have to do is we actually have to do some records for our animals. So we have a lot of different stuff that we're doing on the computer throughout the day. Every single time that we start working with one of our animals, we'll actually come down, sit on our computer, and we will write down exactly what happened during that session with them. We also do a couple other things. We record every single toy or enrichment device that we give our animals. There's really just a lot of stuff that we are doing. So, Kristen, anything else?
So maybe we'll bring you guys in for a little bit of a closer look and go over really how we record these things. So a lot of our record keeping is actually in Excel. So this is something you guys might be familiar with at home, and actually a valuable tool when you go into a field like marine mammal training, especially at our facility, because we use that to do our record keeping. So don't underestimate your Excel skills.
Yes, don't do that.
Yes, they're very useful. So right now you can see we're actually on the record of one of our sea lions, Ari. So you see a little bit of writing right here for the date of 5/6/20, which is today, and some numbers. So we'll talk a little bit about what all that is. So all of those numbers that you see right next to the date, that is actually the amount of fish that she's getting per day. So LH for lean herring, FH for fatty herring, C for capelin, L for lake smelt, and S for squid. So that's the total amount of fish that she eats per day. And we can actually adjust that based on how well she's doing every single day. So if she seems a little hungry and we give her some more fish, we're gonna update that in her record so that way we can keep track of it. And thanks to our lovely handy Excel skills, it automatically updates in that total corner over there. Makes it nice and easy. And then as you can see, we have some writing below too. Hallie, do you wanna tell us a little bit about what we write in there?
Absolutely. So right here we have some times. So we have 9:15, 9:30, 9:45. So basically what we're doing is every single time that we stepped up to work with Ari today, we actually talked a little bit about how she did. If her attention was good, just really any little notes that we have with her. Sometimes we're working on some of our husbandry behaviors with them, which include things like blood draws, eye drops, brushing their teeth. So we would definitely always put that in here too, just so we can make sure that we are keeping up on all of those behaviors. So it's actually kind of interesting because we're able to go ahead, if I wanted to open up a record from 5 years ago, let's say on, July 10th, 2015, if I wanted to see what I did with Ari that day, I actually could go in and do that, see exactly what I did. So it's kind of nice to be able to do that. Another thing when it comes to how much food they're eating, it's very nice to be able to look back at their records and kind of evaluate, like, this time of year our animal was eating this much food, because for a grown animal, most of the time that should be pretty similar, from year to year. So so all this stuff is very important for us, just to make sure that these animals are being taken care of.
Yeah. And then you can see right at the top of the record too, we have a spot right there to check off that they got their vitamins for the day. So those little X's just signify when our animals have gotten their vitamins. So you can see for today that Hallie just highlighted Wednesday there. She only has one X so far because she got her set of AM vitamins, and she will be getting her set of PM vitamins later. And then we have a spot for specific meds. As you can see, Ari's not on any, but this is our medical sheet if our animals were on medication. So obviously, if we ever noticed anything with our animals where their vet prescribed a medication that they might need for whatever reason, whether it's eye drops or oral medication, whatever that could be, we're going to make sure that gets in their records. So once that's implemented, we'll put a note that the vet implemented that medication for them, and then we'll make sure that we're checking off that they've received that multiple times throughout the day as well.
So we'll go a little bit to some of the more fun stuff that we get to record throughout the day, and this is actually about their enrichment items. So I know we've talked a few times on Facebook Live all about exactly all the toys that we're giving these animals to make sure that they have their days are never the same. So this is how we record that. So same thing, we have our date, and then we actually have the all of the different toys. So basically what we're doing is we're just kind of describing what toy. Another thing that we will do with them is we'll obviously tell the time, just so we kind of get an idea of that. We will put in here exactly what animal had access to which enrichment device. And then, so that's our access. And then we have our interacted one. So this is kind of where we can figure out like which animals are interacting with which enrichment items. So basically, when we see this information, we're able to kind of figure out, what toys they find more reinforcing, what toys they, really don't care about as much. And I'm sure, a lot of you guys at home watching, you probably have some dogs, cats at home, every now and then you'll buy a toy that they really, really love. And then sometimes you'll buy a toy that they really could care less about. And so it's the same, this is kind of the same thing with these guys.
Yeah, so you can see next to the interactive section, we have a rating scale. So you can see right there, it goes 0 to 3, and it's pretty self-explanatory. If it's a 0, it's maybe the animals didn't really care about it, they weren't that interested. Whereas if it's a 3, it's something the animals found super cool, really exciting, they interacted with a lot. And when we actually get a 3, when we have an animal who's really interactive with something, we want to highlight that. So you can see that green highlight right there. There it is. It looked like Hopper interacted with a fire hose strip, and she was very interactive with it. She pulled it out of an EED. I remember she was biting it, chewing it, tossing it around, and we want to keep track of that. So that way we know what items are reinforcing for our animals and which ones, if they're not quite reinforcing, how we can maybe play with them and interact with them to make them a little bit more reinforcing. And then up at the top there too, we also have the different types of enrichment too. So we have little abbreviations, but you can see we have ice toy. That's something that is essentially ice that we give our animals. We can freeze fish or different enrichment items into it. We have manipulative items, which is anything our animals can manipulate, touch, move around. We have scent, so we can give our animals things like cinnamon, nutmegs, perfumes for them to smell. Visual enrichment, new things for our animals to see every day. Other, anything else that might fall into a category other than that. And food, so other types of food or a variety of their diet that they can get every day too.
All right, so we've had a couple comments from the sort of Facebook media, not as much about our marine mammals. So number one, Miranda asked if we're going to see some animals today, which I think this is a great opportunity to say, it's a good opportunity to say much of our job isn't seeing animals. A lot of our job is doing what you see now. But we've also had some questions about the sort of fish and invertebrate side of things. So we talked a lot about marine mammals, but what do they get similar records? Do we keep track of their sort of systems and operations the way that our marine mammals do?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I do know, I think a lot of people don't realize that our seals and sea lions, of course, we're going to give them a lot of these enrichment items. Our fish and invertebrates and all of those animals, they also get enrichment items. So I do know for a fact that they are reporting that, just so they would have a form just like ours, as far as which enrichment items, which things these guys are going to interact with a little bit more, which ones are going to pay attention. Obviously, it's not in the exact same way that we would see our seals and sea lions playing with their enrichment items. Sometimes with the fish, it's just simply moving around some of the decor in their exhibits to kind of just make it so they have to swim around something that wasn't there before. So those are a couple of the things that we can do. So they're definitely always reporting that too.
Yeah, it's anything that changes in their environment is enriching too. So it can be the flow of water throughout their exhibit that's different for them. So it's enriching. Certain animals in the fish and invertebrate department might have a little bit more intense enrichment, like the octopus, for example. He's very smart, very intelligent animal. So they have a whole variety of enrichment for the octopus too, like we do for our seals and sea lions, but stuff that's specified specifically for their species. And then same thing for the penguins. They have a ton of different enrichment as well. You guys may have seen that some days while tuning in, just some enrichment around their pool.
Great. Thank you guys so much. So we've obviously talked a little bit about, already do a ton of records having to do with their behavior and what they're receiving. But one of the things that we do here at the aquarium is it's not just us. We're working with other facilities. We are bringing animals to and from other facilities, Ari being a great example. We also, we have to move animals around based on if we're doing maintenance, if, we need to move animals for a medical treatment. So how do we kind of do that deep dive into those other sort of statistics and figures that we need to keep track of.
Yeah. So basically all of the Excel sheets that we've shown you right now, those are just simply on the Aquarium server. So we only have access to those here at the Aquarium. We have another record keeping system that's called ZIMS. So what we do here, this is actually accessible anywhere, anywhere we can access a computer. We're able to log in. And this is kind of like very, very deep into much more of the animals' lives. So we can actually go through our notes and observations, and we're able to write things like every single vet visit that we do with our animals. So obviously this stuff is very important. We have our vets who come in once a week, so we will always put on there that our vet came. And I know that you were asking about some of the things such as moving them. So let me see. Show you on here. Oh, another thing, I know this isn't exactly what Eric was asking. We actually can do their weights as well. So this is where we record their weights. So at any given time, if I'm at home and I decide like, I really want to know how much Mia weighed this week, I can actually log in here and check it out. So we have that. Let's see. Another thing, so as far as their enclosure, which basically means their exhibits or habitats where they're staying, we can actually do a detailed list of where they were. So normally our sea lions live in our main pool exhibit, and then we also have our training room, which our training room is kind of our off exhibit holding area that's not that's not visible to the guests. So basically whenever we have to do maintenance or things like that, we're able to kind of move our animals down there. So you can actually see, like we can come back here and look and see why the animals were had to be moved. Generally it's maintenance. That's a pretty typical reason. We got to fix something. So that stuff's all in here. So anything else that you can think of, Kristen?
One thing that's kind of cool to point out is Hallie showed how they can move different exhibits when they're here with us, but we've had animals that move to other facilities or have been at other facilities and come here to the aquarium, and all of their records transfer over in ZIMS. So Ari, for example, who you guys may recognize, she lived at Brookfield Zoo for a little while. She actually started here, went to Brookfield Zoo in Chicago, and joined us back at the aquarium. And all of her records from Brookfield Zoo are on ZIM still. So we can go back to 2019, earlier last year, and actually see how much she weighed while she was at Brookfield. We can see her medical notes while she was at Brookfield. Mm-hmm. So this is something that's really useful because it transfers over wherever these animals go, so we can make sure that we're keeping track of all of their different health aspects wherever they might be living at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have any other questions?
No questions from the public, but one other thing that we want to talk about is you've done a great job showing how much we do with the animals. We've talked about water quality. We've talked about already, logging our enrichment and everything like this. When you started here, when you first thought about being a marine mammal trainer for our aquarists out there, did you guys ever think you'd be doing this many records, this keeping track of this many things?
Definitely not. Honestly, Hallie kind of mentioned this in the beginning, that you see our job and it's so much fun. We love our job. We love interacting with the animals, and even though that's a huge, important part of it, so is record keeping, and that's something you wouldn't expect, is that a big part of our day is sitting here catching up on our animals' records, making sure we're logging all of these different things that we just went over. Same thing with giving our animals enrichment, even though it's a lot of fun to give them all of their different enrichment throughout the day. Once we do, we have to make sure we come back to the office and log that in the computer, log it in a binder, so we have record of all these different things that we're doing with our animals every single day. So I personally didn't expect it. I don't know if you did.
No, definitely not. But sometimes it is kind of nice to get off our feet for a little bit. I would say that's kind of like the silver lining in doing all the records. It's our time to sit down and take a quick little break.
Yeah.
That unfortunately doesn't happen that often.
It's very true. We're always moving around here.
Yeah.
Now, especially during this quarantine time, while not all of our staff is on site, how do you guys manage to communicate with each other, beyond just looking at the records? Is there anything you guys have to do to help communicate with staff who might not be here on a given day?
Yeah, great question. So every single day, we actually send out a daily report to to all of our staff within our marine mammal training department. So on our actually whiteboard over there, we'll jot down notes throughout the day of anything that might be noteworthy to make sure that we pass along to staff. So every single day, we'll write this at the end of the day. This can include little notes such as water changes or something that might need to be cleaned the next day, or it can include really important things that have happened, like moving an animal, any medical observations, any diet changes, anything like that. So we make sure to send this out and that it's very detailed every day. So even staff who are off that day, they can look in the records, but they also have that nice handy daily report that has kind of everything important encompassed in it, so we can catch ourselves up to speed even after a day's off.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you guys again for joining us here today on our Facebook Live. We do want to say thank you again for your continued support. We really, really do appreciate it during this time.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Stay safe and healthy, and thank you for tuning in again.
All right, and the last question we had from somebody is actually, what time do we normally do these Facebook Lives?
So we do them at 2 o'clock on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So 2 o'clock Eastern, in case anyone's not from around here yet. So 2 o'clock Eastern time, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah, make sure you guys tune in. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Bye everyone.